Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Polite Society News. This the Training Friday edition of Polite Society News. Normally I'm joined by Tom Walls of the Firearm Academy of Seattle, and as you're going to see in just a second, that is not Tom. It is much better
No.
looking and has much bluer eyes than Tom has, discussing blue and brown eyes here a few seconds ago before we went on the air. Joining me today, Brooke Cheney of A Great Start Shooting School. Brooke, thanks for coming along today.
You're welcome. And so what is Tom up to today? Usually he's out playing with Mossad or something.
I
Do you know?
honestly, I think he's on his way to take some driving training with his wife's Corvette. Him and his wife are out to go have fun. I
Oh,
think,
I'm not jealous at all. I love Corvettes. They're my favorite. If
and
I could
and
have, although I did like my Mustang Cobra. That was a fun car. But anyway, I
yeah,
digress. We're here to talk about training tip Friday.
and Tom has a and staying derailing the train a little more. Uh, Tom and Diane have a brand new C7 Corvette, which is the one that has the engine in the back, and they've got a high performance version. And yeah, it's
Ooh, so much fun.
they've got a hot rod. So
Yeah. Well, to be fair, today on the gun range with my students, we were talking about Porsches and Mercedes and all sorts of other things. So yeah, today's a car day. Friday seems to be a good car day conversation.
there you go, there you go. And I have to deal with my right now at this exact moment in time. I have a Dodge. What is the name of
Pleasure.
that thing? It's a Dodge station wagon that's a little bit tall. Uh,
Okay.
it's I don't
I don't know
remember.
if cars just saved my life, dude. I can't help you at all.
My Rav4 is when I was on my way back from Gun Rights Policy Conference. I hit a deer with my Rav4. There were two deer in the road. I missed one of
Oh,
them. I got one of them, or rather, it got me. And
uh,
the Rav4 is in the shop. Has been in the shop for a month. My understanding is next week it'll be done, and I can get rid of this Dodge Durango that I'm driving, and get back
gotcha.
to my Rav4. So,
All right.
all
It's always
right,
nice to get the car back.
yes, I
All right. Speaking of getting back, are we going to get back on track and talk about
I
training?
was kind of thinking we might want to do that.
Your show, man. I'm not here. I'm just here for the ride.
So what we talked about, we set this up when Tom told me he was going to be out, and I asked you if you'd do it. She goes, "What do you want to talk about?" We shot back and forth some ideas. The one we kind of stuck on, and there are two, but we'll save the second one if we have time for it later today. But the first one, when you make the decision to carry every day, does it matter the why of what when you decide to carry? Does it matter what the reason is, or is every reason to carry a good reason to carry every day?
Right. And I mean, I think part of it too is even going a little bit before that is like understand because like again, sorry, we were talking about this offline, but it's like I'm creating a whole brand new training session for my students, and it's just like understanding how much of your life becomes around your firearm when you decide to carry every day is kind of like even I don't know, it's still amazing to me. It's like I have friends that carry every single day and they feel naked if they have to go somewhere that they don't allow to carry. I have students who will be like, "Oh, I'll just carry when I need it," which I think is a horrible idea. That's like saying,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my spare tire in my car when I need it." It's
Yes.
like,
I'm
no,
going to put that
no,
seatbelt on when I'm going to get into a crash.
right. And so this is sort of like one of the first part is like, if you decide to carry for real, it really should be every day, no different than putting your shirt on or whatever. um, because it's all or nothing. And it's not that you can't vary stuff or like if you know you're going somewhere. Like, for example, when I go and testify in Hartford, I cannot carry because there's no guns allowed on property or in the building. Same with going to the kids' schools, same deal, gun free zones. And so I have to leave my firearm at home, and that is that. But in general, if you're going to carry, you kind of commit to the idea that it's something you just always have on you, like a like your spare tire for your car, because the I'll carry it when I need it. I'm like, okay, pretty much anyone I know who trains out there, if you think you're going to need it, then don't go wherever it is that you're going that you think you're going to need it,
Yeah,
is really the answer for there.
yeah. It's the old adage of don't go stupid places with stupid people and do stupid things. If you think you might need a gun there, that's a stupid place.
Right. And to be fair, I do sort of have an exception because I have some real estate agents and I have landlords, and they have they're landlording in places that are less than lovely, and they don't have a choice but to go to those places. But that's the only time they think about carrying, is when they're going to the places that are not as warm and fuzzy as some of the other neighborhoods that they own property in. So it's like that's the only one where I'm like, all right, I can kind of get on that because yeah, they can't not go there.
Right.
So
And it's
I
the
don't know.
opposite of I've got to go there, and it's a relatively safe place. For example, what I'm thinking of going to court to testify or going to testify in front of the legislature. Usually there's some kind of security in both places.
Right.
Uh,
I mean, here in Connecticut, we have cops and metal detectors, so it's like theoretically no one is getting in with stuff. Um, so, and I say theoretically because you build a better mousetrap and they figure another way in. But so yeah, so as far as deciding to carry every day, first thing is to realize that it is a thing. Like carrying every day. It's not like when I feel like it, when I need it. If I feel like I need it, it's like that commitment to carry every single day. And like Paul and I were just talking about, it's like, why? Why are you carrying every day? And so there's lots and lots of different reasons. Um, let's see. Top one, hmm? Keep yourself safe. If someone is shooting at you, you want to be able to shoot back. Now, good news is this is not the wild, wild west. There are not that many places in America where you're going to go walking down the street and have a shootout. However, in some cities, there might be places like that. But yeah,
Minneapolis
so
was. I'm sorry. Was that external? Um,
I don't know. Did she Chicago? What? Um, where's Rhonda when we need her? So,
um,
but yeah, so why do you carry? It's self-preservation generally. Then there is the preservation of innocent people around you.
mhm.
And beyond that, I don't know why else people really carry. Because those are the ones that come to mind for me. And we were also talking about, ooh, what are bad reasons to carry?
Before we get into that, let me. I'm gonna go personal here for a second. And my reason when I made the decision that yes, I'm going to get a handgun. That was a big decision to start with, and then I'm going to carry this thing every day. My own life was secondary. I was going to protect my children's wife and my wife Susan's life.
Right.
That was why I decided to carry every day. Not so much for me, but in case something happened, that way I could protect them.
So that's where my training journey began in the beginning anyway, is we already had guns in the house, but I didn't know anything about them. And when it was just me and my husband, I didn't care because I was smart enough and I knew not to touch them. It wasn't until I became a mom that I'm like, ooh, I need to know what to do with these things. I need to know how to touch this without it going off. That was my impetus for learning about a firearm. I never planned on carrying. It was never about self-defense for me. It's not until recently that I'm like, okay, I need to carry, I think. Um, because the world is not what it was 15 years ago when I started this journey. But yeah, it is interesting how the mama bear thing will come out as far as the why am I doing this? Oh, well, because if anything happens to me, that's bad for my kids. If anything happens for my kids, if anything happens around while I'm around and I can't do anything, that is also bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot of people, and again, back to students, I ask in the beginning of the class, I'm like, all right, why are you here? Is it shooting sports, hunting, self protection, Second Amendment rights, collecting, the typical NRA questions. And I would say most everybody is here for self protection. whether it's in the home or carrying outside of the home. And so,
And I honestly think that is a huge change. Let's go back to my early childhood 50 years ago. 50 years ago, if people had a firearm, the main reason they had it was hunting.
yes.
And and I'm going to say that's been since about the year 2000. That
Hmm.
and even maybe a little bit before that 1990 thing started. When we started getting shall issue permits in a lot of states is when people started saying, hey, I can carry every day to protect myself. And that's where self protection came, in my opinion, to be such a
Hmm.
large segment of the gun owning community.
Yeah. Um, I've done a lot of research on like violence and violence prevention stuff with the DOJ and FBI, Secret Service, and that sort of stuff. And one of the interesting things is that often the FBI has a reasonable um, statistical base,
Mm-hmm.
and they like look at crime stats. And someone like the Pew Research did a thing where they're like, here's the actual violent crime in America has actually been going down since the 1990s per
Yeah.
capita, not events, but per capita, it's actually been going down. However, when the Pew Research people went out and said, hey, how do you feel? Is it safer or less safe? Everybody feels like it's less safe. And this was a 2016 survey. So not our current day, because our current day is definitely getting higher. Like COVID really kind of spiked a lot of crime, and the bad economy also spikes bad crime, because when the economy is good, crime is down. When the economy is down, crime is up. And
Well,
so that's where we're at.
I
Or why
think
you want to carry every day. Yeah, that.
yes. Uh, I think one other thing that may be contributing to that is starting in about 2010 and going forward. Right now, you can get news instantaneously right in your pocket, and sometimes it's hard to avoid it.
Yeah.
And so I get what I would call hyper local news, just news from the north side of Sioux Falls, and I get that delivered to my phone automatically as it happens. So yeah, if there's crime near your home, that immediately you may not have been aware of it 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Now you're aware of it, and could be the reason why you're not feeling as safe.
Right. And I mean, and that's, but the funny part for me is that it goes back to the stats and the feeling stuff anyway, is there's the reality of what's actually happening, and then there's the feeling of what's actually happening. And so for carrying, a lot of people are feeling like there's a lot more crime out there. And now there kind of is more crime, statistically speaking, per capita. Because I always go by per capita because people are like, oh, compare us to Sweden for this. I'm like, Sweden is this big, we are this big. Um, stuff like that.
All right, let me. We're getting some comments I want to get up here. DJ Play Nice, hey DJ,
Uh,
love to see you here. I see you whenever Brooks broadcasting, but he says find Brooks Academy here and has a link.
yeah, he's going
Also,
to drop the link for sure.
good at dropping another link. Brooke has a YouTube channel too,
Yes,
and
and he
that's
did my
where
assistant. He helps me every Saturday night.
that's where you will find Saturday night Brooke talking about suicide prevention. It's not a full hour long broadcast. You do what 15, 20, 30 minutes somewhere in there.
Yeah, unless I'm interviewing someone. When I interview, then they'll probably go for 45 minutes to an hour. But
Mm.
most of the time, I don't have that long of an attention span, Paul. So like 15 to 30 minutes is about as much as I can handle.
All right. And I do not who know who sent this, just Facebook user. I carry every day, no days off. And I think
Right.
that's when you make the decision to carry every day, I think that you have to make that decision to start with. It's not going to be comfortable for you at the start.
Mhm.
And eventually you'll get to the point where something's wrong. What's happened? Oh, I took my gun off when I got home. That's why I feel different.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it is an everyday thing. And my like I said, the students that come through and are like, oh, I'll just do it when I need it. And I'm like, oh, and I just go to the spare tire analogy because that's the easiest thing. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about some good reasons: protecting children's lives, protecting spouses' lives. One thing I kind of hit you with as we were talking about doing this: is there a bad reason to carry every day?
absolutely. I will do my best to stay on topic. All right. So, bad reasons to carry. So, if you are paranoid, afraid, fearful, and I mean like you don't really have anything out there that's out to get you, but you feel like everything is out to get you, that would be a bad reason to carry every day. If you're just waiting to utilize all of their training and be superhero guy or girl, that is also a bad reason. You never want to be looking for the fight. All of the good self defense training I've ever had, because we have three basic jobs: stay out of the hospital, stay out of jail, go home every night. As someone who's trying to take care of themselves and their family, those are your top three things. So if you're ever carrying because you're looking for a fight, that'd be a horrible reason to carry. And so
Or
that's what I
be if you failed twice at the police academy and never got that job and want to, act like one anyway, it's also a poor reason. We are not the police. And I don't want to hear anybody ever saying, well, I made a citizen's arrest the other day because
no.
you just gave that person a ticket out of jail.
Well, and I mean, there's always there's tons of reasons, but just like the paranoia, the fear. Now, I also have students though who aren't paranoid. They really do have stalkers, and they really do have people after them. And unfortunately, that's a horrible reason to have to carry, but it's not the same as looking for a fight, and that's not a good reason. Or
Yeah.
looking to be a hero. That's also not a good reason to be a
Yeah,
hero. So
absolutely.
those would be
Um,
the non-good reasons.
absolutely. Let's. I do want to broach the second topic we kind of discussed maybe talking about today. And okay, you got the jury summons. You've got to go to the courthouse. You're going to be there all day.
Right.
Courthouse Courthouses across the nation are no carry zones. Or if you have to, God forbid, you have to go into the post office to do something. Why you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't go to the UPS store or FedEx or wherever and do your postal stuff elsewhere, I don't know. But for some reason, you've got to go into the post office. All post offices are non-permissive areas. Brooke, you've got to go to some place that does not allow you, period, to carry. What do you do?
So I'm special because I'm in Connecticut. Um, we have to have our firearms locked up at all times that they are not in our direct control. So if I have to take my firearm off, it is no longer in my direct control. So I have to lock it up. Now, in Connecticut, as a permit holder, I can lock my gun in my lockable um, glove box, or I can have a safe in my car that I lock it into. And this is where, when my kids were in school, I didn't carry at all because I can't put my gun in a car on a gun free zone on a school because I'm still on property. So there's so many things that as a carrier you can get in trouble for, and the laws are different in every state. So there is no simple thing. So it just depends on where you are. Like I said, here in Connecticut, it has to be locked up. Wherever you live, wherever you're watching this from, maybe your glove box is good enough. But the part of it too is think about what your day is going to be. Because for me, when I had kids in school and I was going to go help read or something, I would just leave the gun at home because I couldn't bring it on property. So part of it is thinking about your day. And this goes back to the very beginning when we're talking about when you do this every single day, you actually have to have it be part of your day. It's like, this guy actually just asked me this past week. He wanted a money order from the post office. So I had to go to the post office to get the money order. So do I have it with me or do I leave it in the car? Because I hate the idea of taking my gun off in a parking lot
Mm-hmm.
because I conceal carry. And so I don't want anyone knowing that I have a gun on me. So it's weighing where your comfort zone is. For me, I'm more comfortable leaving it at home so no one ever sees it.
Well, and another benefit to that is you are uh, the most accidents happen in administrative handling of your firearm. So when you are loading, unloading, and if you're going to properly store your firearm, it must be unloaded, meaning taking the one that's in the pipe out of the pipe. And by the way, you are carrying with one in the chamber, right? You need to take the one out of the chamber and take the magazine out. Well, you take the magazine out first, obviously. Take the one out of the chamber, and then you lock them separately in your vehicle. At least that's what the
So
federal requirement is. State
that's the
requirements can vary.
federal requirements for traveling with a firearm.
Yes.
Oh, so here's the thing, and this is the thing that really, really stinks, is that we're just told we have to have it locked up. We are not told in Connecticut what state it needs to be in. It just says it must be locked. And unfortunately, there was a case already where someone had one of these, normally I have it here, the little lock boxes that you can
Yeah.
put a cable through, and it fits a handgun in it, basically. And he had that in his car, and the hoodlums who came and ransacked his car ripped it out, had cable cutters or whatever. He is still getting charged with a felony because the cops are like, well, you can't prove that you had it in the box that was locked that was taken away. So I told my students, like, just put it in your locked glove box because then they'll have to break it and then you'll have proof that it was locked. So it's really hard to leave your gun behind in your vehicle, is really what I'm saying. It's like you do you. It's like if you don't want to be that far away from it, all of that, have something can lock it in. Here in Connecticut, if you have a pickup truck, for example, your locked toolbox counts as a locked area outside of your beyond your car. So, but again, it's my whole thing is I don't want anyone to know that I've got a gun. Now, the people who know what I do just assume that I'm carrying all the time, and whether I am or not, none of their business. Um, so, matter of fact, this morning on a podcast, I'm like, yeah, I don't carry, and I'm just like, well, as far as you know. So it's one of those things. I'm like, I don't want to expose a firearm while I'm in a parking lot, even if I just take it, the whole holster and everything, and put the whole thing in my glove box. I don't want to handle my gun out in public, period, ever. That's me, though. What do you do, Paul?
Well, and I want to go back to you said that Connecticut you could still be charged if they take a cable cutter and take your portable safe and then bust it open in another place. It's
Yeah.
unusual that Connecticut law, and now that I think about that, Connecticut law makes you put it in a less secure place because then you have proof. Because it's not tough to get into a glove box,
Right.
even a
But
lockable
that
glove
that's
box.
but the challenge was is like the guy was getting charged because he couldn't prove that he had put it in the thing, and it's just like he actually went back to go find his receipt for buying the safe. But it's just like again, I just don't like anyone seeing my firearm in public to begin with.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. And I'm going to go back to when I drove truck for a living a little over 3 years ago. When you drive truck, there are states and they're dispersed through all throughout the United States where you cannot be in possession of a loaded firearm. What I used to do is I would go into the bunk where I could stand up, be full height. I would take the firearm out. I would take the magazine out, take the one out of the chamber. I had two locking safes that were actually keyed with different keys, but I kept them on the same key ring. Um, and I'd put them in separate locking boxes in areas, and this is the key part where it is not accessible to the driver. And that covered me as far as the Firearms Owners Protection Act. And I would make sure I did that before I hit the state line, which is not always easy. You've got to know what's coming up and where as far as truck parking, because I can't exactly pull into your local 7-Eleven where there are 5 parking spots. But I would make sure that it was totally unloaded, and then and in the and each the ammunition and the firearm were stored in their own locking cabinets. And the ammunition, by the way, by federal law, does not have to be locked. I just did
Correct.
that for an extra.
Most of us just do that administratively so that we have one more layer of protection when
Yeah.
someone's reading the Firearms Protection Act. If because another thing like a lot of us students don't understand is like the cops don't know the gun laws the way that gun owners know the gun laws. And so the more that we can do to protect ourselves from getting jacked up when if we in for a traffic stop, especially, um, the better. Because actually, talking about administratively, we were watching a USCCA video,
Hmm.
and they were talking about if you're in a traffic stop and the police officer asks for your gun, the biggest thing is to pay attention to not flagging yourself or anyone else. And I said, no, don't give them your gun. Say, officer, I don't feel comfortable handing my gun to you while I'm seated. May I get out and allow you to disarm me? Because all of the cops I've ever talked to are, if I'm talking to the cop that is right here in my window, his partner's back here. He's not hearing our conversation. If I grab a gun and the guy behind him sees me grab a gun but doesn't hear the officer ask for it, I'm gonna get a bullet in the back of my head.
Yeah, you're gonna have all kinds of extra holes. Exactly.
And so it's just like I know there's always different information, but I'm like, I really never want to handle a firearm administratively, especially for a traffic stop. And, like I said, I will comply. I'll just be like, officer, I will let you unholster me if I can get out of the car because I do not want to handle my gun and hand it to you. And I also have enough cop friends that will tell me most cops aren't the best at handling firearms in the first place. There's that too. No, and I love my police officers. I'm not dissing police officers. I'm like, they have enough other crap they're supposed to do, and no, so they can't be good at everything.
Let me get some comments in here, and this may cause us to go a little over time, but I'm gonna get to these comments anyway. MK
Yeah.
says, "I'm guessing taking a photo of your safety box is proof. New York City requires a photo of safe storage. My phone only allows so many pictures. I mean, it allows a lot, a couple thousand. But if I were to take a photo of my firearm in storage every time I go to put it into storage, my phone would fill up in a hurry. But
Right,
yeah,
but we were
it,
sort of talking more about. I mean, because for the guy who had his thing stolen, is like if he had a picture of the safe in his car locked up, because that's what I was thinking too.
yeah,
Right? Is like how that would be admissible in court in the first place. It just you and I as gun owners are held to such a higher standard because we're the good guys and we're supposed to protect everybody else from the bad guys who are stealing stuff from us. And now I'm a felon because I was unsuccessful because a bad guy. Oh, and we were talking about this say on this other one. Um, Here in Connecticut, if you're the bad guy and you steal a gun from me, it's a misdemeanor. When you steal the gun from me as a bad guy and I was the victim of a crime, I'm a felon.
oh joy.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, I
Um,
try not to rant on, but I live in Connecticut.
let me get to a couple more comments here, and I love this comment. Excuse me, I love this comment from Warsaw Patriot. He says, "Paul, since I was a kid, a teacher once told me read books and that knowledge is power. Even knowing your own gun laws is powerful. Used against you in your own state. Just make sure you're 100% with the statute." Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Warsaw Patriot. Know what you have to do in your jurisdiction. That will sometimes take a trip to the law library to find out exactly what you have to do in your own community,
So here's the
at
thing in
least in your state.
Connecticut, even the lawyers can't tell you what to do to be law abiding in Connecticut because the laws were written so poorly. So we actually cannot be law abiding citizens in Connecticut. The best we can hope for is to be responsible gun owners. Because when they did a lot of the Sandy Hook stuff, they refused to talk to anyone who knew anything about firearms. So when they were banning things and talking about technical parts of guns, they're incorrect and they don't make sense. And so you can't follow something that doesn't actually make sense.
Yeah.
So this is a challenge, and um, back to why I'm writing my own school curriculum for a Great Start Shooting School. They're asking us to teach law. And I'm just like, not a lawyer, not offering legal advice. However, here is the information. You read it, you do what you want. But knowing as many gun lawyers as I do know, they read it and they're like, I don't know. This doesn't make sense. Like I should have a show just with Alex. Alex and I can go over just gun laws in Connecticut. So, but yeah, it's really awful because here in Connecticut, it's like, oh wait, do I have it? Oh, I do. Ready? See this?
Let me get you solo on the screen so it's bigger.
Right.
There we go.
This is a list of the gun laws in Connecticut prior to the newest rack of them that just came through in 2023. So each one of these lines is multiple paragraphs or pages, depending on which one of those are. There is not a single gun owner who knows all of these, plus understands them, plus can comply with them because we can't understand them because they are not clear and concise. So this is just an example. So yeah, see, I got props and everything.
All right.
I mean, I agree with Warsaw Patriot. I'm like, we should know. But if you can't, you can't. But you should try.
Yeah, do the absolute best you can. But at some point, we are all human. You know?
Mm-hmm. When people say, I never leave my gun unlocked. I never leave it loaded. I'm like, anyone who says never and always lies about other things too. Because we mean well. We mean to always have our guns locked up. We mean to always make sure. But yeah, this is where accidents occur. I
always get out of here in 30 minutes as we are sitting at 32 and counting.
Yes.
Brooke, we have kind of gone through the time we have. A Great Start Shooting School, and also please specifically plug your broadcast you do on Saturday night.
Okay, so A Great Start Shooting School is here in Harwington, Connecticut. I opened in 2014, and next year, January 1st, will be my 10-year anniversary of being in business here at A Great Start Shooting School. AGSSS.com, see there's 3 S's, is the easiest way to find my website. You can go on YouTube and just look for A Great Start Shooting School, and you will find me, Brooke Cheney, in Harwington, Connecticut. You'll find lots of stuff, not just my stuff. So that's that. Tomorrow night, Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Since 2018, I have been hopping on the interwebs and talking about suicide prevention. Because as gun owners, we need to help people understand if we're looking to save lives, that 2 out of every 3 gun deaths you hear about are suicides. So if 2/3 of this are suicides, we should be talking about mental health and saving people. And guess what? If we help prevent suicide with guns, we help prevent suicide with other things. And if you work on those things that help mental health, that also helps prevent violence. So it's a 3-for-1 blow. So yes, that's that.
All right. That does do it for us today. Once again this week, I have not gotten any commentators for Sunday, so I'm going to call off the Sunday show right now. Do tune in tomorrow night to Brooke's broadcast at A Great Start Shooting School. And on Sunday, you can also tune in to, I'll be doing video production for Eye on the Target Radio. So from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Time, you can tune into that. If you're in a different time zone, the Central Time Zone is the only one that matters, so just convert from there. That's going to do it for us tonight.
Central Time is when you want to come see me tomorrow then.
Okay. Well, and I remember that very clearly because I always had to try real hard on Saturday nights to get out so that if I did have Brooke on, she could go do her show, and if I did not have Brooke on, I could go catch her show. So, anyway, watch Brooke tomorrow, and then Eye on the Target Radio Sunday. I'll be back Monday night for Polite Society Podcast. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Podcast listeners, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.